He's different.
No shit. Why is he dressed like that?
It's not that, it's everything. He came to the party with a white woman like 30 years old now.
Sex slave! Oh, shit!
Chris, you gotta get the fuck up out of there, man. You in some eye wide shut situation. Leave, motherfucker.
What is going on, movie lovers and bud smokers, and welcome back to another episode of 5 on It. We are your hosts. I am Francisco.
And I'm Sir Fraser.
And on today's episode, we are reviewing a movie that is, well, since it's Oscar season, we decided to do a little reverse. Smack it down, flip it, and reverse it. We decided to do some Oscar snubs in the Best Picture category, to be more exact. Today, we are reviewing Jordan Peele's directorial debut, Get Out. But before we dive into that, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Throw us a like. It helps the algorithm, helps the show out, get us out there to more eyeballs and people. Don't forget to leave a comment if you feel. Do some of your highlights, maybe some of your lowlights as well. Because I don't think it's a perfect movie by any means. But before we dive in any further, Sir Fraser, you already hear him. Tell the people what you're smoking on, man.
Man, we're back at it with the Doogie.
The Dookie?
The Doogie. These are these are blunts, 2 grams. This is a sativa. This one is guava rec. Look, I told you. Oh man.
God damn.
These are good, man. These pack a punch, really good weed. So you'll have to apologize in advance for us getting into the weeds.
See, me personally, I'm so used to my pen. When I actually hit some bud, it almost catches me off guard, like sneaks up on me.
Welcome back.
I know, right? Takes me back to the old days.
Yeah, I definitely prefer flower overall. I'm trying to get back into that more so than the pen, just because, I typically do enjoy like the actual process of rolling or packing, and just smoking these. But
it does stink more though. It does stink more, like it stings on your clothes. That's the one thing I do. Why I prefer the cartridge over the flower a little bit.
You can be out here smelling loud.
Yeah, it's a little bit more indistinguishable, man. Like, I mean, honestly, I don't really give a fuck. But I mean, it's nice to pull into the movie theater and not be reeking that loud. But it is what it is,
Yeah. So, for those of you who haven't seen this movie, I highly recommend stopping this and going to check out this movie because there will be spoilers. And this movie is kind of touching on the legacy. I think is rightfully considered one of the best, not just horror movies, but movies of the 21st century. But the summary of this movie is a young black man is invited to visit his white girlfriend's parents' estate and soon realizes the family has a very dark history. So this movie is directed by Jordan Peele. And, he really flipped the script in this movie man. We, of course, had known him for his sketch comedy in Key and Peele. Mm-hmm. And he steps into, this is his debut feature, full-length feature, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And he gives us a really rich horror movie that, is just really great at misdirection and flipping the script. Compared to what we have known him for up to that point. And he's since gone on to produce really great movies, both in Us as well as Nope. So I'm very excited to see what he has next, lined up next. What do you got?
Man, I'm definitely excited for his next movie, whatever it may be. I was interested in all 3 of his movies, but honestly, I got to be a little bit of a Debbie Downer. I got to feel that, he came out the box swinging with Get Out, and I feel like it is such a fantastic movie. It's going to be a very positive review on my part. But I feel like he's kind of gone down a little bit with Us and then Nope. To me, Us was pretty good up until like kind of they do the reveal and you see like all the duplicates and everything like that. Mm-hmm. To me, that just kind of brought up a little bit more questions than answers, and it kind of left me kind of not necessarily with a sour taste in my mouth. it just kind of left me just thinking about certain things, and I was like, I don't feel like it answered some stuff, and it just
You feel like there was some loose ends with the storyline?
Yeah, exactly. And Nope, it was just okay. And so I feel like his trajectory, I mean, maybe it's not necessarily going like way down, but I'm definitely intrigued by his fourth project. But I really hope we get back to the Get Out level more than the Us or the Nope level.
Well, you know, I mean, I definitely understand what you're saying there. I think that in some ways, because this first movie was such a home run and so successful commercially as well as critically, it's set a really high bar in terms of in terms of his movie making.
Yeah.
But I do agree that I think this is the best movie he's done. But I don't think that the other movies are bad by any means. I think he's made good movies in the other two, in Us and Nope. I just don't think that they're on this level. And maybe it's one of those tricky things. Like, is that unfair? I mean, in some ways, he set that standard, right? He set that bar for himself. But at the same time, I don't know how fair that. I mean, some of these. I mean, it's tough to do maybe for some of us, but I think it's important to try to measure these works in their own regard.
Yeah.
And then evaluating them over the course of their filmography. I totally appreciate that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I mean, when you get nominated for, an Academy Award and amongst other nominations as well across the award season, I mean, especially for your first movie, I suppose that leaves a lot of hype and a lot of just pressure for
and
the next
anticipation.
Project. Yeah, and I definitely agree. Us and Nope aren't negative projects at all. Like if we did reviews of those two, I'd give it a positive review. It wouldn't be like, I don't think there are fours. I mean, Get Out to me is definitely going to be on the 4 side ish for a little spoiler alert of my final review. But it just, wish we could, not necessarily, we don't need to get Oscar worthy level of material, but definitely just want to get back to like that Get Out level of just kind of just being super surprised and leaving with more satisfaction at the end of the day. Because like I said, with Us, I was left with more questions. Nope, I was just kind of like, it just didn't hit as hard. With Get Out, after watching this, I was still just like, God damn.
Yeah.
I'm super glad that it ended the way it did, because wasn't there like an alternate ending?
Well, in the original ending, yeah, it's not Rod that exits the police car; it's an actual policeman, a white one.
Yeah,
and he ends up being arrested, and he is looking at some serious time because they're trying to pin all of the deaths of the family, of the Armitage family, on him. But I think that would have been a very, very bleak ending to that movie. But
if it would have ended like that for me, it would have definitely left me with a sour taste in my mouth. Though the score would have definitely plummeted a bit, in my opinion, because I don't know, like seeing Rod there was just so satisfying, especially at the end, and you see just like that bitch just have that look on her face when she's getting choked and everything. You're like, this evil.
She enjoys this.
Exactly, like this evil fucking bitch. And so seeing Rod in the car, it was just like, oh my God, thank God.
Yeah.
Actually, you don't even see him first. You see the
you see the car first.
Well, you see the car, but then you kind of see airport, and my mind was like, what? And then you see Rod.
Yeah.
You're like, shit, hell fucking yeah, man.
I mean, so this movie stars Daniel Kaluuya, Allison Williams, Bradley Whitford, Caleb Landry Jones, Stephen Root, and Lakeith Stansfield. This movie was, as you mentioned, was critically and commercially successful. It earned $255 million at the box office and had a budget of $4.5 million. I mean, this movie was a fucking home run and then some. I mean, it's like, I'm talking about home run. The plates are loaded.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? This movie earned 4 nominations from the Academy: Best Picture, Best Director, Best Original Screenplay, and Best Actor for Kaluuya. And Peele is the only Black American winner for Best Original Screenplay. I did not know that. He's not the only nominated in terms of history. Spike Lee, I believe, has gotten that. But he is the first to win Best Original Screenplay.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really surprising.
So, definitely want to, just, honestly, man, this could have been a movie we recorded or we reviewed during Black History Month.
God, that just like, it's like,
this is, go ahead.
I'll just mention about Jordan Peele, just how surprising it is, just because you just know him from the sketch comedy and everything like that, and to be the first black winner for like original screenplay. I know, man, it's just really surprising, but give him his flowers, man, because he earned it for sure.
He absolutely did, and how it's been received reflects that, right? So as was mentioned, this month we wanted to shine some lights on some movies that we feel were snubbed for Best Picture, and Get Out lost to The Shape of Water by Guillermo del Toro, which I enjoyed that movie. It was very interesting, very, very odd, but it was a charming story to me. But I did not think that movie was better than this. Some other movies that were nominated that year were Lady Bird, Dunkirk, and Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri.
That's one that I do have to watch.
I liked it.
I
really like Lady Bird.
I've been seeing a ton of shorts on my YouTube algorithm lately, and it's definitely made me a little more interested to watch that movie. The title is just kind of throws me off a little bit.
Like, God damn!
But then when you get into this, I know it's just an odd title. Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. But then when you get into the story of it, and then you see a couple of scenes, like I said, on YouTube or Instagram or anything like that, it makes you just pretty intrigued to check it out. So I'm not gonna. I mean, we're saying snubbed and everything to give it its praise. Like it probably should have walked home with that award.
In my opinion, definitely.
Yeah, I will wait to say that just because I haven't seen Three Billboards. But right now, yeah, to me, I think Get Out definitely should have taken that award home.
Yeah. Well, I mean, jumping right into the story, what did you think of how, I mean, we hear Childish Gambino's track off of Awaken My Love, which is, Stay Woke, which definitely resonates as this movie progresses when we learn what the Armitages are doing to black people. But I did like how we kind of set this tone. We meet Andre, who is a very talented photographer, and he is dating a white woman, and they're going to spend time with her family out in the sticks.
That's Chris.
Chris, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Andre is Keith.
I'm sorry. Yeah. My bad. And he is very apprehensive about going out there. Especially because she's never dated a black man before, and they're kind of foreshadowing just the tension that is gonna come along the way.
When they're even having the conversation in their apartment. I think they've had that. I think every mixed couple have probably had that conversation before of like, hey, do they know I'm a certain race or not? And she's just like kind of just playing it off in like a joking manner and all that type of stuff. But kind of which plays into like, I think the game a little bit later. Every time he tries to ask her about like certain things about the family, she's just kind of like, oh, like when he asked her about like the dude outside, the boy, and he's like, oh, do you think I actually have a chance with him? And then she's just like, oh, you're just trying to make jokes and everything like that. I'm like, that just like plays into like how she's just fucking with this dude.
Oh yeah, she's bro. This movie, her role in this movie is a class in fucking gaslighting. I mean, even before this, right? It sets the tone of like what the fuck is happening when Andre's abducted, right? And we learn later on as the movie goes, as the storyline unfolds, that this motherfucker was talking to Rose.
Yeah, exactly.
And her brother rocking this fucking crusader like helmet.
Dude, that's why I love how like the movie
Abducts
opens. Like it just is shot perfectly, and like the soundtrack, the score is beautiful. And Lakeith's just having like the conversation, just like, man, I don't know where the fuck I'm at. They got me turned around and everything. And when you see the car pass him, and then just hit that Yui, and then he's just like, not today,
Nope.
not today.
Yep.
Man, it's like, it's funny, but also quite terrifying because if I'm out on the road and all of a sudden I see a car hit a Yui like that, I'm like, oh fuck.
Yeah.
It's going to be on and popping now.
I'm sprinting out of there like fucking, like Ricky, but without the Ricky ending. You feel me? I'm gonna be again, bro. I am not running straight. I'm gonna be hurling fences.
Oh my god, it'll be about like back in the day when I fucking ran out on this cab. I fucking hit that fucking went around the trunk of the cab, and I hear him say, "Oh, let's go," and I'm like, "Oh shit." And so, bro, that was the fastest I've ever ran in my life. It barely felt like my feet were touching the ground. And I was running so fast, I couldn't even turn to go into my house and then I end up having to take a turn into the neighbor's yard, and I just start hurdling fences, just boom, boom, and I'm like, that's just what made me think of that when you said that. I'm like, that's exactly what I would have done.
Bro.
As soon as I see a car on an empty road like that, hit
Fucking
a Yui like that,
not the best lit,
bro. I'm probably just ducking it, especially if I don't have no weapon on me, bro. I'm out of there.
Yeah. One of the things that I do really love about this movie is the way that it builds tension throughout the first and second act, where we have. It really starts to get the tension really starts to build for me in this movie after what happens with Dre. I'm just talking about Chris's storyline. Is when they're driving upstate to Rose's folks' house and they hit the deer. Like that moment was just really eerie, where we see him get out of the car and he's like very concerned, and you can see he feels this animal suffering, and Rose is just indifferent, which is very much a breadcrumb for who she really is. But that also comes full circle with like that moment of him feeling that pain when we learn about his mother getting hit, and dying from a hit and run
And him not
accident,
really doing anything,
and him not being able to do anything. And so I thought like that detail was like that connective thread between that moment and what we learned later I thought it was a really great writing. But when the police are talking to the policeman is talking to Chris and Rose, and he ends up asking for Chris's ID. And we think Rose is saying, well, wait a minute, why do you need his ID? He wasn't driving. We're starting to think, okay, like, look good on her. She's actually, she's standing up for her man. She realizes the racial dynamic that's in play and why the cop is treating him this way. Yeah. And we think that she's acting in good faith, right?
Protecting.
But in fact, what she's doing is she's preventing them from getting his name and being able to tie him as a missing person to her and her family. That's what that is. She was trying to be protective of prevent his name from showing up on a police scanner on their radar mentally, right?
Damn,
when he goes missing after they do what they do to him.
I didn't even think about that. I just thought it was just kind of like obvious. It's like luring him in even more, just playing the game, just trying to make him believe even more so, just to continue to hit the road and get to the destination. But that makes sense as well, for him not to show up like that as well. Man. And
then we meet those fucking parents.
God, I was thinking, after watching it from the first time, this is the second time watching this.
Ever? This is your second time watching it?
Yeah, only the second time. And so, like, since I know how it ends and everything like that, I'm just trying to, like, think of, like, little moments of, like, breadcrumbs or red flags maybe, or hints of, like, moments. Two things, like moments when I personally would just probably dip the fuck out of just like, all right, you know what, no, enough games. And seeing like how like the actually writing will like keep Chris in this situation, or keep me in that situation if I was personally there. But then also just trying to see of like red flags or breadcrumbs of like what the family's doing, if like they're actually like giving us the audience hints of like who they are and everything.
Well, yeah, I mean, one of the things that was pointed out I mean, this movie has so many thought pieces. I think that this is also a movie that, if I'm not mistaken, is taught in some universities because, of just the themes and layers to this movie and the script. But, there's that moment where he's talking about, they're telling him that, what happened on the way there, how they hit the buck. Mm-hmm. And the father is just like, oh, good riddance, like I hate bucks, and people have pointed out, well, that is like tying back to the history of buck breaking, trying to break black men specifically, and to dehumanize them in a way that they could, essentially, have no problems in getting them to do what they wanted. They breaking their will, right? And it also comes back in the end where he's killed by the buck head in the basement, by Chris. So I thought that was interesting, and there's something also that just really just is just like, yuck. When there's this very smug white liberalism, right, where they say the right things, or they say the things that they think are right. They'll do the Black Lives Matter poster, and it's just all it doesn't take much to scratch that surface and see what's really underneath. And it's just off-putting. You're just like, ugh, I see you.
And you can tell, like, when some people are doing it because they're just like, they're trying, but they just don't know how.
Right. That's different.
They're just kind of a little bit naive. Mm-hmm. But then you see people that are truly just masking of like who they are. It's like, bro, you're just bullshit. Shut the fuck up. It's like when people say like, well, I'm not trying to be racist, but or like, I got plenty of black friends. I'm like, oh Jesus, just shut the fuck up. Yeah. Or like I said, when he's
my boyfriend's black.
Like, like what are you talking about? I've dated a bunch of black guys before. It's like little things like that. When you hear that, it's like not necessarily might say that they're racist, but you're making
just cringeworthy
racist-ish comments. But like even he's saying like stuff like that where about like it makes the Obama comment.
Oh God!
And I remember hearing like a lot of that shit in real life too.
In real time, yeah, I remember hearing that.
Oh, I would have voted for Obama for a third term if I could.
He speaks so well. That's my favorite. One of my favorites, right? He speaks so well. Like, what the fuck are you talking? I know what you mean, motherfucker. Like, he speaks good English. Like, motherfucker, like, what? Like, he's an educated man. What the fuck are you talking about?
And then when he talks about, like, other, just other people's cultures and stuff, I'm just like, yeah. All right, he's, at least the writing is really good. I mean, that's one of the highlights of this movie is the writing. And so, like, watching it and, like, how he's taking them through a tour of the home and all that type of stuff.
Yep.
I'm like, man, he's saying certain things. Like, that's not, like, if I was in that position, like, it wouldn't necessarily make me, run. But I would just kind of be like, like, oh, he's one of these white dudes right now. He just wants to take me through his little rich-ass house. Wants to say his, like, little not racist things.
His little speech that he's probably rehearsed.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like, all right, like, I'm watching you, but I'll play along for now. So like nobody's done anything too creepy except for the mom, kind of like when they get introduced, and the mom is just played by what's her name, Catherine Keener. Wiener.
Way off. Pause.
Catherine Keener. Apologies, but she just has like that look on her face that just, I don't know, it's just off-putting. And so
there's this hunger in their eyes. You can tell, you can see that.
Yeah. And
that's what's also very off-putting.
Well, when you know
watching this and seeing that,
when you know what their intentions are, you're just like, now when you know what their intentions are, you can go back and see like how they're looking at him when he first approaches them. You're just like, oh, you fucking scumbags. Fuck y'all. Yeah.
Well, during the tour, right, the dad shows him the picture of his father and how his father raced Jesse Owens during the Olympics that were held in Berlin during Nazi Germany, and that comes into play later when we see I can't remember his name right now. The one that plays the grandfather. After they've gone through the procedure.
Yeah, all the TV. Was that Richard Hurd?
Is that the guy that plays the man who's doing like the landscaping for them? I'm talking about him.
The black dude?
Yeah, the black dude.
Oh, that's Marcus Henderson.
Walter. There we go, Walter. When we see Walter sprinting at night, right? That was really off-putting, right?
Yeah.
Because that's like him reliving his era, his days as a sprinter.
Yeah.
And that was like really, that kind of comes back to play, like that comment that he makes then.
Yeah. Man, and when Chris talks to Walter, and you just think like, this is just like a weird ass brother or something like that. And he's like, I apologies for catching me with my exercise. Like I said, once again, like he hasn't done anything like too crazy. Even though like when you walk around and you're looking and you see like the two black servants, even though like he makes that comment of like, he's trying to make it cool. Like, I know what you're thinking, white dude. But I'm like, even the fact that he called them black servants, I'm like, you could have called them like employees, motherfucker. I'm like, they're not, you know, they call them servants, motherfuckers. Like, Jesus Christ. But it's not until, for me personally, until like when, what's his name? Jeremy? The brother.
Oh my God.
Once he gets introduced to the
tension just goes up a level.
The weirdness and everything gets cranked up a notch. And the dinner scene is definitely a nice highlight too for this movie.
Well, yeah. There's that. Yeah, where he's sizing him up and he's asking these questions. You know, are you into combat sports or MMA? And then he says, "Dude, you know, if you pushed your body, you could be a beast." Mm-hmm. And he is. What we learn is he's really sizing him up, and he's almost as though he like wants Chris's body for himself.
Well, he even said like the dad starts talking to. He's like, "Oh, Jeremy, I think you had the you had the floor enough. Let somebody else take it or something like that." And he's like, he kind of snaps back and he's like, "You had your chance with him. It's my turn now," or some shit like that. And I was like, oh, just like the way he said it. Like I said, knowing their intentions, you're just like keying in on certain things that they're saying. We're like, oh, it's like you had your turn with them. Now it's my turn to like interview the prospect, pretty much. Mm-hmm. Which I think that's kind of why he's even like when the camera shows him throughout after like the dinner scene, and even when like the party is going on, and he's a little bit moody and shit. It feels like he's just almost jealous that he can't partake in the festivities. Yeah, which is just like, Jesus Christ.
Well, I think the scene where he wakes up in the middle of the night, and also an important detail throughout this movie is his phone is constantly being unplugged.
Yeah.
Which essentially is cutting him off from the rest of the world, and but he is able sporadically to contact Rod, but when he goes out. And he sees Walter sprinting, and he sees Georgina fixing her hair, which we learned is because she's covering up, making sure she's covering up the stitches from her operation. Yeah. And that's something you see with all the black characters who've had that operation. They all wear hats to cover up those stitches. Mm-hmm. But when he goes back inside and Missy, the mom, is talking. She invites him to come sit down, and that whole scene, right, where she is hypnotizing him, asking him these personal questions about his mother, really prepping him to be hypnotized. Mm-hmm. That was a really great scene where we learn more about him. And why that deer accident earlier in the movie resonated and hit him in such a visceral way. Yeah. And then, you know, she's stirring her teacup with the silver spoon all the while she's talking. Silver spoon is also a symbol, you know, just for having a silver spoon in your mouth. Like, these people are both white and extremely wealthy. Yeah. Therefore, they're very privileged compared to most anybody.
It's great symbolism.
Especially Chris. Mm-hmm. And the visuals of them showing him sink to the sunken place. So I read that was a highlight for me. So I read that they used the dry for wet technique to film those scenes where he's in the sunken place.
What technique?
It's dry for wet technique is what I saw it referred to as. So it basically involves suspending Daniel or Chris on a wire and shooting at a higher frame rate to create like the sense of floating. It was like this scene is a highlight for me, like the symbolism of the symbolism of the sunken place is now just like it's just a part of our cultural lexicon. Yeah. And the actual the visuals, seeing that and that foreshadowing what they were bringing, that's when we see like this is like they are sinister. Yeah. And the way that scene ends, right, where he wakes up in bed, we're almost kind of wondering, was this real? You know what I'm saying? Like we're kind of left in the situation where we don't know if he's a reliable narrator at that moment.
See, and honestly, that actually kind of brings me back to like when we were talking about with the conversation with Walter. Now that I'm thinking about it, because he has that moment when he gets hypnotized by her, and then when he actually goes and he talks to Walter, and they're having their little moment. Yeah. He mentioned that he's like, "Oh, you were in the office." He's like, "Did it work?" And he's like, "You were in the office for quite some time." To me, like that was just like I would have keyed in because I had that same moment of like, "Oh, maybe he was dreaming." I mean, granted, like. You probably would think like, there's no fucking way.
Yeah, that's when we know he's
you
not.
Wake up in bed, maybe it's just like, maybe that was just some wild ass dream. But then when old boy says it, like you were in the office, to me it's like, that's like, I probably would have been out the door at that point. Yeah. I would have been like, all right, I don't know what I would have told my lady, I'm like, hey, your mom fucking did some weird ass hypnotism last night. I had some weird freaky ass dreams. I'm not cool with that shit. I'm going to get the fuck out of here. Yeah. And
I actually already ordered my Uber.
Yeah.
My bags are at the door.
And I guess like she does like a pretty decent job of like trying to like, flip the script a little bit.
Bro, she gaslights
and just
him
and
times,
just
like,
trying to just make him believe that everything is cool, and it's just like, oh, my family, like she's trying to just like make him think like, yeah, I know my family's weird too. I don't know why they're doing this stuff. Just like when she's talking about like, my dad is doing this, my man stuff, my man this, like trying to be like, yeah, my family is being weird. What the fuck are they doing? I'm like, bitch, shut the fuck up. Quick thing is, this bitch is fucked up when everything is like popping off at the end. And they're showing her, and she's like on the computer looking at new prospects. Bro, the way she's eating her cereal.
Segregated.
Bro. I'm like, this bitch is off her fucking rocker, man.
Yo, fucking psycho.
If I ever saw somebody eating cereal like that, I might just go up there and slap him in the face.
Yo, I've been like, I should be calling the police. Like, yo, this person is a
psychopath.
Needs to be
arrested. I'm making a citizen's arrest right now. Do you see this crazy son of a bitch?
Oh man. But going back to the way, like, man, I do really. This is. I guess this just speaks to a larger highlight for me in this movie. Is it really effectively builds tension? I mean, there's tension in every one of his encounters with a black person not named Rod in this movie. Yeah. And they're all just. It's just really just eeriness to them in the way that they interact, and it reminded me a little bit of the tension, how tension was used in Rosemary's Baby. I actually thought that was that's the best part of that movie. Yeah. We talked about that, man. That ending was underwhelming, to put it mildly. But that movie was excellent in the way that it built tension. And another movie that I've heard made comparison that have been made that this movie Get Out's been made a comparison to is Stepford Wives. Both of those, Stepford Wives and Rosemary's Baby. Except those movies are told from the perspective of a white female protagonist, kind of pushing up against sexism and patriarchy, right? Whereas this one, we're coming up against just white supremacy. It's just changed its clothing and its wording, you know, but I mean it's racist just the same.
Yeah.
And very nefarious, despite these people who, in any other context, would consider themselves allies to black people.
Yeah, really.
With they say with a straight face.
Just masking all of their prejudice.
And you know, some like a really great indicator of just like how deep the evil was is that in the video that they're showing Chris before the operation. This is in Act 3. They play that video just outlining the family's business, and what they've been doing, and you know, it's from the grandfather Walter's perspective, him and all the kids, and his kids and his grandkids, and they have that line. They say a mind is a terrible thing to waste. That's something the family says, right? Mm-hmm. And that's the slogan for the United Negro College Fund. So they're basically subverting like this very empowering message from this organization that was trying to uplift black people, mm-hmm. and they're perverting it to achieve these really just nefarious ends.
God. And even how he says, like, on the video, like, long live the coagula, or whatever the fuck that shit. I was like, God, that's creepy fucking old ass man. But then you think of his family and, like, the lineage that they're trying to play with that hate and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. But also all the people that are at that party and everything like that.
Oh, God. And the questions, the way that they're like, the one that comes to mind immediately was just so egregious was the woman's like, is it better?
Yeah.
And she's like, oh my God. Like, yo, she's like, what the fuck?
Dude, she just immediately starts grabbing him, filling him up. I was like, oh my God.
Like he's at a fucking slave auction.
Yeah.
And then, you know, the dude, the golfer was like, used to be a professional golfer. And he's sizing Chris up, and he's like, "Hey, let me see your swing." You know,
I know. Let me see your form. I was like, "You could at least throw a please on that motherfucker."
I don't play golf. What
but
the fuck?
To me, it was obviously that the fat man for me. That was like obviously it was the last one for Chris because he had to walk off after that when he's like, "Yeah, fair skin used to be really in fashion, but." Black is in right now. I'm
yes.
like, God damn. Like, yeah, I'm gonna walk off after this,
bro.
It's like if the hypnotism wasn't enough for you, walking around in this party, and then this is when you stumble onto Andre, because he sees another brother at this party, so now he's like, oh, I feel a lot more comfortable. But as the audience, we're like, that was the dude from the beginning. Shit's not right.
It ain't him.
Now they said he's a dude from Brooklyn. He ain't gonna be dating some 30-year-old or some woman that's 30 years older than him, dressing this way, like flipping the script like that. Like, fuck no. But as audience, we already know something's going on. Mm-hmm. Chris just doesn't know it yet. He probably just think he's just this cornbread ass motherfucker, this little whitewashed brother. But he tries to kind of. I'm not necessarily just goad him into a conversation, but just kind of get the heat off of him when that Asian dude asked him about the African American experience in America
today. Yeah,
and I was like, oh my God! Even when the dad is like, yeah, that's a tough one, and they're all just looking at him, I'm like, yeah. What the fuck is this?
He's like, hey Logan, maybe you could speak to this.
That's probably exactly what I would do. I would have been like, as soon as I would have saw another dude walk up, like I would have flipped it on him, like, hey, what do you think about this? And then he grabs his phone, and then this is when we get the tell. He takes his picture, he snaps out of it, and that's when he just runs up on him, yelling, "Get out! Get out! Get out!"
Yeah.
Lakeith Stanfield does his role isn't big or anything like that, but what he gets, he chews up. He does really fantastic.
Yeah, he's a. I don't know if it's premature to say great, but I mean He's an excellent actor, that's for sure. I mean, dude, him and Kaluuya in Judas and the Black Messiah. Oh my God, man, that movie is just incredible.
I don't think they do anything that's like
that Western that Lakeith was in was great. Sorry to Bother You. I mean, dude.
Yeah, the Western I don't think was like well received as a whole. Like I don't think it got like super positive reviews.
This is a good movie.
Every time he's in it, like he's always just like he pops off the screen for me. He's just such a great actor. Mm-hmm. So anytime he's in the project, I'll definitely give it a try. But at that moment when he wiles out on him, man, I'm like, you still got to bounce after this too, bro.
Yeah.
Man, granted, like the girl is doing a good job of trying to make him feel secure, but I'm thinking, I'm running like the set of events in my head. How does when do they actually get ready to leave? Because don't they already set the motion of getting the keys ready when he stumbles onto the pictures?
So he did see the pictures before they go downstairs to try to leave. He sees those pictures, basically the trophies of roses from all the black men, actually black people that she's dated. And she comes across the picture of the black man who's Walter and Georgina. Yeah. And he's like, yo, what the fuck? But he's also like, I got to get the fuck out of here. I can piece this together later. I'll address this later.
What happened before that, though?
That got them
that made them start because I remember he talked to Georgina about the phone and everything like that.
Well, yeah, that scene was really wild too, where she starts crying. She just has this maniacal fucking grin on her face. It's like some Stepford Wives shit.
Yeah.
So I think the event that set him off was when the Armitages explain what happened to Logan and how it was always a seizure, and he's like, "Yo, I've got a cousin who has I don't know if it was epilepsy, but who has seizures. That wasn't a fucking seizure. I'm getting the fuck out of here."
Yeah, no, because then that's when what was it? Laurel calls Rod.
Yes, and he confirms, like, "Yo, that's Andre." As he's getting ready.
Yeah.
Right, that's the same scene.
See, I think that's what set the motion. It was like, all right, we got to get out of here. And then that's because he sees that door that's open, but he doesn't really pay too much attention to it or anything like that. But then after he gets the call from Rod and everything like that, quick shout out though, before I dive further into that with Rod, dude, it cracked me up. He does a fantastic job of, even though all this serious shit is happening, he's the great comic relief.
Yeah.
Lil Rel does his thing. But when he's telling them everything and he's just like, sex slaves, you gotta get out of there, man. I told you not to go in that house. Bro, that shit cracked me the fuck up.
I mean, yeah, a highlight for me is when he's explaining to the police his theory, his working theory. And she's listening to this. And then next thing you know, two more cops are in there listening to this. And they just start cracking up. And that was a highlight for me.
Dude, shout out Erica Alexander.
Yeah, legend.
We are living single.
Also one of the best theme songs.
I'm about to start going off on that theme song. It is a good theme song.
It's such a great theme song, dude.
Man.
But yeah,
with when Rod calls and lets him know about Andre, yeah, that's what set it off for him to want to start getting out of there. Because then they go back to the room. He sees the door open, and he sees all the photos. And bro, I was watching this when I was watching this. I told my lady, I'm like, girl, have you seen this? And she was like, yeah. And I'm like, do you remember this part? And I showed her that. And then as soon as he sees all the photos, and then he gets to the last one, and it's Walter and everything, and then he gets up and he closes the door, and she's just standing right there. Bro, all I could think of was fucking Goldberg in the WWE. And bro, I showed her a video of a Goldberg spear. I'm like, yeah, it wouldn't have been any questions, dude. Because at this moment, I feel like it is crazy shit going on right now. And now you are kidnapping motherfuckers right now. So it is life or death. I am going to drill this woman into the next fucking floor. And we're gonna figure things. I'm not even when he's like, oh, the keys, where are the keys? And she's like, I don't know where the keys are.
It's gonna take me a minute to find them. Like, what?
Bro, it's like at that moment, you gotta let them hands get an equal opportunity ass whipping,
bro.
And you gotta get that fucking bitch out of there, because fuck that, I'm fighting my way out of there at that moment.
Yeah, I'm listen,
or like I'm grabbing her,
I'm breaking out of windows.
I'm grabbing her as a hostage and be like, I'm going to snap this bitch's neck if y'all don't let me out of here.
So
Fuck
I ain't
that.
playing.
And we're going to see how much y'all love your daughter right now.
Bro, also, let's just talk about the fact that this family is prostituting, they're fucking hoeing out their daughter in order to lure black people
I mean, she seemed okay with it though, because she was looking at prospects.
I'm just saying, like, I'm just thinking that's what they're doing essentially, hoeing out their daughter to fucking lure black people, so that you can do these operations on.
Man, which I mean, that kind of brings me to necessarily maybe a negative, but it does like kind of makes me wonder though a little bit. Like what actually, like I get it, like they're doing some sort of form of lobotomy and all that type of stuff. Mm-hmm. So it's like, what actually happens to like let's say like the blind dude, for instance. Let's say like that the plan actually goes through. So is he's just like his consciousness is now going to be in Chris's body.
Yep.
But what happens to his body? He just dies or whatever? Like what happens to like that body?
Cremation?
I know, like so, like that they just just dump it or whatever. I guess.
I guess they didn't really explain that, but I guess they would cremate it. Maybe I don't know.
Huh? I was just thinking. I was like, so they.
I didn't think about that, but that's good. That's interesting.
It's not necessarily negative or anything like that, but I was just kind of wondering. I'm like, so like I'm guessing the conscious go there, but then they have this extra body, so I don't know. I was just kind of wondering that a little bit.
Well, you know, a highlight for me that I did also want to call out was the silent auction scene, right, where we see the dad and he's throwing out bids with his hand, and people are bidding, raising their paddle to bid on him. And as we slowly zoom out, we see who they're bidding on or what they're bidding on, and it's Chris.
Yeah.
And dude, another fucking really great scene just before that was when Chris walks up the stairs and all the white guests are talking, stop talking, and they all look up.
Yeah.
Bro.
That was so creepy.
That was creepy as fuck.
So to me, I like stuff like that. Like, I guess when we were talking about like new age horror, like some stuff just doesn't hit for me, but like things like that, I don't know, it just hits because it's so eerie. And maybe because it has a sense of reality to it as well. Maybe that's what makes it like even more fucking creepy. Because there are a lot of people like that. Like maybe not to this extreme, I guess, but I'm sure there are. But it's just eerie and creepy as fuck, and it's just beautifully shot. Huge highlight is that moment. Yeah,
I mean the third act, man, is one of the most gratifying for me. I mean, easily one of the most gratifying moments in movies that I can think of, where he just fucking, So the altercation right before he ends up in the basement, right, where Rose tells him, I can't give you the keys, right? And he ends up getting knocked out by the mom. And he wakes up downstairs in the basement. He's fastened to this sofa, and we learn that they're prepping him for the procedure. And so they're explaining everything right now to they're showing him the video of like the family quote unquote business that they're doing, and what's in store for Chris, and as well as he has the conversation with the gallery owner. I can't remember his name right now.
Jim Hudson,
but the man who won the bid.
Yeah, Stephen Root's the actor. Jim Hudson.
Jim Hudson, and he explains that he wants his eyes, and once the procedure's complete, there'll always be a part of Chris there, but he'll be like a passenger is what he refers to him as.
Shit, not even a passenger, honestly. I think it's more like how Bruce Banner put it in Ragnarok, when he's like, I'm usually a passenger with my hand on the wheel. This time I felt like I was locked in the trunk. And I was like, yeah, that's what the sunken place feels like. Yeah. You're more locked in the fucking trunk. You're not a passenger. It's like, shit, you threw me in here. I'm tied up. I can't even fucking breathe down here. Like, what the hell you talking about, passenger? But that is a huge highlight, too. Just how he's explaining it, how it's shot, and how they zoom in when he's like, I want your eyes. I'm like, yo, you creepy fuck. But, dude,
facts.
All I could think of, dude, was... he's the dude from Dodgeball.
Oh, yeah. Also, Office Space.
Yeah.
Hit my stapler.
Honestly, I think this movie does a great job of taking some comedian actors that are just like Stephen Root, or even who plays the dad? Where's he? Bradley Whitford. Even Catherine Keener. some people that are more known for maybe some more comedic roles.
40-Year-Old Virgin.
Yeah, exactly.
Great
And Bradley Whitford. All I can think of him is Billy Madison.
Oh.
Yeah, he's the dude that
Damn,
he's going up against.
Dude, I did not even realize that was him.
Oh yeah. Taking these more known comedic actors and giving them some more serious work and making them have this like really creepy tone to them.
Yeah. I mean, dude, the scene where like the symbolism of Chris scratching the armchair and using the cotton from the inside to plug his ear. Mm-hmm. Like the symbolism of that, right? Him having to pick the cotton from the chair in order to save his life.
Yeah.
Right. And when the brother comes to, when Jeremy comes down to take him to the operating room, he fucking bludgeons him with one of those with the croquet balls or something like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, get that motherfucker.
Well, dude, that's why I had to like test it out myself. I was like, could he even like actually be flexible enough to like actually kind of do that? And it's like, oh yeah, that's actually pretty easy.
Yeah.
But they just kept on putting him in the song plate over and every time he came out of it, the TV would hop back on and another fucking she'd be twirling that fucking little tea glass. Mm. But as soon as he knocks him out, I'm like, yeah, you see like the blood start to form and everything like that. But I'm like, bro, you need to make sure that motherfucker's dead. Either hit him again, stomp that motherfucker out. No, you need to make sure it is a wrap.
Yeah.
But, which does come back and bite him in the ass a little bit.
Yeah.
But after he does takes care of Jeremy, or he thinks he takes care of Jeremy, he goes up.
Dean.
Yeah, he takes care of the dad with the deer head.
That was great.
Oh my man, fucks him up really good.
When he got Missy too, I was just like, great. Especially when he knocked that fucking teacup off.
Dude, when he was
like, oh yeah.
When he was one-on-one with her.
Let's fight fair.
I was like, I know. I was like, yeah, you don't got the teacup, bitch. And it's almost like she tried to like stand up like,
no tea for you.
Bro, I'm like, take your time a little bit, brother.
No rush.
Slow it down a little bit. Actually, maybe you should grab the glass, take a sip of that tea. Like, let's try this shit out a little bit, bitch.
And all the while, fucking Rose is upstairs, like basically researching more black people to fucking kidnap.
What? How does he kill her? How does he kill?
I think he stabs her in the neck with the knife. Remember, she stabs him with the knife. I think he uses that. He uses on her.
Dude, that was a big highlight too, as well. Just because like the way he plays it off when he gets stabbed in the hand.
Yeah. No
sell. Doesn't even make a move. Doesn't blink. Just takes it in and it's like, bitch,
you're mine.
You're mine. Exactly. Oh my God.
Dean and Jeremy ain't coming to save you.
Like, I'm not gonna scream. I'm not gonna do nothing. Just like when he knocked over the glass and everything like that. The way she looked, it's like, ooh, I'm gonna get your ass, bitch.
Yeah, that was all these kills were like very just. I hate to say this, very satisfying.
Very satisfying.
I was like, they had it coming.
But then, like you said, she's upstairs researching new prospects like a fucking weirdo. Jeremy comes back to bite him in the ass, puts him in a little bit of a sleeper, trying to show, I guess, that MMA background he's got.
When he reached for the door and then stabbed him in the leg, I was like, nice.
But I'll give Jeremy his props. He kept good and had a nice little move, kept closing that door on him, closing the door. But then he learned and he stabbed his monkey ass in that fucking leg, got his ass off real quick. Yep. And then he learned, he's like, I'm going to put these Timbs to your fucking dome.
This the last lesson you going to get. Dump a mud hole.
Bro, I was hoping that because he was like 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. He got to like 3 Mississippi, I think. And then that's when he gets stabbed in the leg. And then as soon as he stomped, I thought he should have went 4 Mississippi, 5 Mississippi. He should have shouted.
Oh, that would have been wild.
Like, yeah, bitch, keep on counting. Who's standing now? Oh, bro, it was so fucking satisfying. But then the La Resistance. He tries to save old girl for the end and tries to end grandma and grandpa. I mean, I didn't really know that those were grandma and grandpa until like that moment, obviously. I mean, did you know that that was grandma and grandpa until that moment?
I'm trying to think, when did I pick that up? I think I started to pick that up right around the time they're showing him the family video.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I think I pieced it together. Because like I feel like, oh, you were the first.
Yeah, true.
Because the dad kind of says, oh yeah, they helped my parents out. I just couldn't get rid of them. They kind of make these comments that kind of hint at, okay, like
that is a hint at like what,
something's off here, And then the way, like just the old language that Walter would use when he was talking, I was like, dude, what the fuck? You sound like you grew up in the Depression era.
Oh my god, I'm trying to think of what he said. I can't think of it right now.
When he's describing Rose, it was just
what did he say? Like just like
hey chap, like some shit like that. I was just like,
they said like,
fuck?
oh, she's a real knockout. Like, but it was some other old timey saying. I forgot what it was.
And he's just like, I'm like, bruh.
And I'm like, and he's like, I think he likes you. That shit was so fucking funny.
Yeah. Dude, when Rose, so when he snaps the picture, when he flashes Walter with the phone, and he ends up getting the gun from Rose and saying, let me do it. And he fucking blasts her with the rifle right in the fucking stomach before, he kills himself. That was like a really intense moment. It was like, holy shit. I did not expect that. I wasn't sure what to expect, actually.
But it seems like, because now that I'm thinking about it, like, why would she hand over the gun to the dude?
She thought it was their grandfather.
Yeah, exactly. Because I'm thinking nobody even knew about the camera flash. Like that pretty much reset him.
Yeah.
And so once like he had that freak out, like that just surprised everybody, and not thinking that like, oh, they knew about that little hitch in their plan.
Yeah.
So that's just something I'm just thinking of right now that we're talking about it. But it's pretty sad though, thinking that like how long he's been trapped.
Yeah.
In the sunken place, he's just like, there's just no way I could go. He's almost like in the Winter Soldier in a way, where it's just like you're just, even if like you came out of the spell, it's like somebody else has that power over you. Like if all of a sudden there's a ding or a little chime or
words are spoken.
Yeah, exactly. Words are spoken. Some sound that's even remotely close to it can just put you back into that moment, especially when you've been trapped in there for years, for decades. Man, it's a bit of a sad moment.
Yeah.
But when he fucking I thought he was going to give her the Timberland treatment. I thought he was going to be like, all right, I had your brother get the right boot. Bitch, you getting the left boot.
Yo, hold up, though. So when you were talking about that scene, I thought you were going to say, I was expecting what we got in Drive. Because I was when I was watching that, I was kind of thinking, are they gonna? I couldn't remember. I was like, are they gonna show us what they did in Drive? Are they gonna show him getting stomped? And they didn't. I was like, okay, good.
Yeah.
Because that scene in Drive is insane, bro. Well, that shit was so graphic.
It's obviously you see the intensity in Ryan Gosling in that moment, but the fact that they actually show the face, it's just like Game of Thrones. Like when old boy gets his head smashed and everything, you're like, oh my god! Like not only the sound and all that stuff like plays a role into it, but once you get the visual, you're like, oh, you just took it over the top. Oh,
it's so true. But a part of me was like, I couldn't remember how like that whole scene unfolded. I was like, are they gonna? Okay, good.
Yeah, they didn't need to do that, because I think that would have
been nuts.
Even though like this movie has some death and like has some cool death scenes, it's not over gratuitous.
No,
it's not over the top.
I think the death of Dean is probably the most graphic, right? Because you kind of see the antlers go through his neck. That shit was,
or maybe even the mom, I suppose. But it's not that bad. It's not like cutting somebody's fucking head off or some crazy shit. No. Even though they all deserved it. They deserved that Walking Dead type shit, that Negan with the baseball bat. But he's choking her, and then when you see, like I said earlier, you see her face just smiling. She is enjoying it. She's just an evil entity.
Yeah.
She's just a deity that needs to be fucking expelled. But you see the cop car, or an alleged cop car, like pull up, and you see her reaching out for help.
Yeah. And there's that moment, and when you're first seeing this, right, there's that moment like, oh shit, like,
Like, oh,
is it gonna be, you know, that white police officer? And when fucking Rod gets out the car, bro, oh man, you're just like, oh, thank God. And
Man.
and they leave her, and you know, and she dies, you know, just fucking bleeding out on the ground.
I guess that does leave a question, like when he does ask, like, how'd you find me? He's like, well, I mean, it's a funny moment because I'm TS motherfucking A.
No, yeah, that's great.
I guess, but it does like how did he find her though? Did he know about that at the address though somehow? Like, did I miss that in the story? I mean, I wasn't.
They
paying
didn't
too
really
much.
explain that. I don't think they explained that.
Yeah, I mean, thinking about it, I'm like, I think I'd have to go back and watch it a third time just to try to pinpoint, like, because even if you did find my iPhone, his phone has to be on, and it was pretty much dead at that third act. So I don't know. Maybe there was an address and we just kind of missed it, but oh well.
Let's see.
I suppose that could be a bit of a negative.
What was to say? I mean, just pivoting to. I mean, was there anything else you want to cover? Any other highlights or anything before we touch on scores?
Honestly, no. I think I'm ready to pivot into scores. I mean, I don't have any like. I've already kind of mentioned like negative-ish parts of this movie. I mean, it's not perfect. I'm not going to give it a 5-star, but I think I'm ready to go into scores.
Yeah, I'll kick us off, man. I'm leaning with a 4.5. I think this isn't a personal favorite of mine by any means, but it is a really excellent movie, and I think it's a really uniquely told horror story that we really hadn't. I had never seen anything like this. So I think it certainly is not only one of the best horror movies of this century. I think it's definitely one of the best movies, period, of this century. I think there's a lot to enjoy about this movie, from the symbolism to, you know, just like I was saying earlier, this kind of self-congratulatory liberalism, white liberalism that is often a mask for some really ugly and vile things. It's still a potent message today, as it was when this movie came out. It was tremendously successful, deserved the nominations and the accolades, and you know, the box office numbers reflect that. This movie is truly a very unique story, and I highly recommend it. It's not a movie that I'll go back to and rewatch, and that's not always the case for me with horror movies. There's some movies that I can watch quite a bit, like Halloween, probably the first Friday the 13th, Scream. There's definitely some horror movies that, probably Child's Play 2, actually, now that I think about it. I think probably is pretty well watchable for me.
Oh, yeah. I think Child's Play 2 might be my favorite Child's Play.
Yeah, I would agree.
The toy factory at the end.
Yeah, the first one is pretty great, but the second one, yeah, I agree. But yeah, I think that's where I'm at with this one. How about you?
Man, I firmly agree with you on everything. 4.5 for me. There's so many highs with this movie: the acting, the score, the visuals, the ominous,
the writing,
even the ominous opening. Yeah, the writing. There's so many good things about this movie. Yeah, it's not very high on the rewatchability for me. But if somebody hasn't seen it and they wanted to watch it, I would firmly recommend it, and I would thoroughly enjoy it. Watch it. I'd like to watch them watch it just to see, because of like I said, we know how it ends and everything like that. So I kind of would like to see if they're picking up on certain things that's going on throughout the movie. Like certain dialogue points or certain visuals, just to see if they pick up on stuff like that. But yeah, 4.5, man. This movie's fantastic. I think it is an Oscar snub, especially the movies that they were going up against. I haven't seen every single movie in that list, but against the ones I have seen, Get Out definitely stands out for me personally. And even, I mean, no disrespect to all of them, they're for well-earned nominations. But Get Out, I think, is gonna, you know, stand the test of time. It's maybe not on the level of like a Shawshank snub, but I think Get Out is going to be talked about.
What a snub!
You know, as the years go on, and I still think it's talked about to this day, even though it still hasn't been released like too long ago. But I think it has a lot of legs to it. It's going to be mentioned for years to come.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. All right. Well, that wraps up this week's show. Stay tuned. Next week, we're going to bring you another one of our Oscar snubs. I do want to shout out, though, this year, man, I was really happy to see Anora get the love and accolades that it did. That was one of my favorite movies last year. I absolutely love the movie. The script is really fun. And I'm also a big fan of Baker. Florida Project was just an excellent movie. Another feather in A24's cap. But, so we'll stay tuned. We'll be dropping that next week.
Yes, sir.
Peace.